What's up, everyone? Welcome into episode 71 of Around the Felt. We got a special edition for you today. The UFC 300 pod. Yes, that is right. Around the Felt is dipping their toes in the MMA water. Huge card coming up on Saturday. We're pumped to be here. Zach's in the house. Ryan's in the house. Spencer's in the house. And Reagan with a David Kurzrock tag. But you don't have to worry about that. Dude, one uppercut. You're fucking toast there, Drock. I mean, Reagan.
Yeah, you called me Drock. Now, if it was me, I'd come in, bang, flying elbow to the face. You're on the ground crying about your chinny chin when you got hit with my elbow.
Wow. I don't think that happened, Reagan, but, you know, you can keep dreaming about that. But anyways, we got a massive fight card. We're breaking down every fight because how do you not? I mean, they start off with a bang here. We'll just roll right into it. Davison Figueiredo, minus 310 favorite over my guy, Cody No Love Garbrandt at plus 250. Now, Cody, I will say this. When I first started watching UFC back in the mid-2010s, Cody Garbrandt was my favorite fighter. That performance against Dominic Cruz was phenomenal and probably one of the best I've ever seen. Obviously, since then, Cody hasn't been the same fighter. He is on a 2-fight win streak. He beat Brian Kelleher and Trevin Jones after a rough stretch. Obviously, people were calling him No Chin. But he hasn't faced a guy the caliber of Figgy since getting knocked out by Kai Kara of France. Meanwhile, Figgy is coming off a win against Font, and that's after fighting Moreno 4 times. Zach, floor is yours, brother.
Yeah, Figgy looked great making his bantamweight debut. I mean, dominating Cater, 30-27 across all scorecards. Looking at the fight in general, both guys have legit knockout power. Garbrandt has never been submitted before. I think it's very important for him to stay off the ground, and he also has an 80% takedown defense to go along with that. And while I am rooting for Cody, I don't have confidence in him to stay out of dangerous situations. He gets hot-headed, flustered, and with that being said, I think that, and along with the combination of him being very chinny, will lead to Cody going to sleep at some point throughout the night.
Wow, that's bold. I'm taking Figueiredo, unanimous decision. Enough said. He's gonna dominate Garbrandt in this fight. Maybe Garbrandt steals around, but it's still gonna be a unanimous decision.
See, I'm going to go against everything that you guys have been saying so far. Trust me, I'm not trying to be biased here when I say it. I'm a big fan of Cody. No Love has been nothing but a show for us to watch. I mean, looking at these guys' record, you're going to look Figgy at 22-3 and Cody at 14-5. I think this is crazy for me to say. I really do believe that Cody is going to put a spectacular show on. I think that this man is someone who's a striker that you're going to want to watch. I think that he's going to land good shots. I think he's got some good reach. I believe his reach is 65 and
2.5 inches shorter than Figueiredo.
2.5 inches. I think Cody's going to be able to control him in the fight. Now, don't get me wrong. Cody hasn't fought a guy like this in a very long time, but there's all love for the no love. I really do believe that Cody's going to pull something off today or in the UFC 300, and I want to see a victory go with no love.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Spencer. I see Cody knocking out Davison Figueiredo.
Yes.
I think Figueiredo, he has that straight jab. Cody moves, bobs, weaves, throws those crazy fast right hook, left hook. And I think all he has to do is catch your chin once.
And even going back to that, his right hook is some of the most dangerous punches I've ever seen in the UFC. We look back to that one fight where I'm trying to think about the fighter off the top of my head, but we
all know the clip. Yeah, we know. Yeah, I forget the fight.
Sunset, yeah.
The horn goes off and Cody hits him with that right hooks and knocks him out cold. I think that's something that every fighter should be scared about when you look at No Love.
No, the speed's still there. He still has it. You saw that in the Keller fight. He's just having his way. I think he'll do the exact same to Figueiredo.
Yeah, absolutely. Cody does still have speed, and since he got slept a few times, I think he's changed his approach a little bit. He's still aggressive, but I feel like he does have a little bit more caution when he enters. And I'm going to say this. I'm taking my unbiased fan hat off. I'm riding with Cody because that's my boy. I'm betting with my heart here. Don't care. Cody Garbrandt, baby, by knockout. I don't think this goes the distance. Either way, though, I do not think this goes the distance.
You just said you're taking your unbiased fan hat off, and then you were being
betting with
biased.
your heart.
Because it's unbiased fan
Hey,
quotation, like
my
you're
boy.
being biased.
My boy, Cody got you tripping. All right. This is gonna be
Cody got
doom for
me
you
tripping?
boys. This ain't no boom. This ain't no boom. It's doom
Nah.
for you guys.
Now you're tripping for thinking this thing's gonna go the distance, though.
Zach, what do you think? Cody got these boys tripping?
I think Cody might have these boys tripping a little bit.
We'll see. We'll see.
Y'all are just haters. Y'all are. I mean, you guys have just never found love. That's
I mean,
why.
I don't. The chin might be
Ooh.
suspect, but I mean, the last time he got knocked out by Kai, he was out. He had a difficult weight cut at 125. You know, slimmer down, more susceptible to those big shots. And Kai just made the right reads. A fight
Yeah,
went
he
in.
did.
I feel like the only thing that we could see Cody suffering when it comes to this fight is if this fight goes to the ground, and also if this fight goes the distance. I think that Cody's a very like quick guy. Like I don't think he's too great at keeping his stamina up, nor going to the fact of going on the ground. I think that Deverson has him on the ground, so I think that's his only weakness right now. If Cody can keep that distance and be able to keep that jab and that right hook or the uppercut going, I think he has a great chance of knocking him out early. Now, I don't think if it goes to the distance and it goes to the scorecards, it could be one and another, man.
I don't know. We did see Cody dance all over Dominic Cruz for 5 rounds, and he didn't look tired after that. So I mean, I think he has the stamina. He's fought it before. Both guys have fought championship rounds before, but I don't know.
All right, gentlemen, let's move on to the battle of the old heads. Bobby Green minus 180 against Jim Miller plus 150. I did, of course, everyone knows Jim Miller is the only fighter to fight in UFC 100, 200, and 300. I saw on Twitter, it's like UFC 300 drinking game, and that's one of them. When they mention that in the broadcast, take a shot. It will definitely come up. Yeah, absolutely. Bobby Green fought 4 times last year, one of the most active fighters in the UFC. He went 2-1 with a no contest. He did get KO'd by Jalen Turner, who's also fighting on this card. In that stretch, Miller has won 5 of his last 6, man. I mean, the guy just loves to fight, and I don't know. I would love to hear your thoughts on this one because this is a battle of the fan favorites.
Yeah, so Green is coming in here at 37 years old with a 2-inch reach advantage, and Miller is 40 years young. I mean, Green has some serious power. Green also likes to fight with his hands low. I mean, you see him fight, hands are always low, moving around, and I think that does bode well for him in this matchup against Jim Miller, given how Miller is going to look to utilize his wrestling, try to take him down. Those hands being low will help out in the takedown defense, and he also doesn't really have to worry about any power coming back his way from Miller. Therefore, I actually have Bobby Green winning this via TKO.
Zach, I gotta disagree.
Woo!
I think Bobby Green just took one of the worst KO losses I've ever seen only a few months ago. A horrible stoppage on the ref's part, let it go for way too long. And at 37, I don't think there's like a lot you can do to come back from that. You're not who you were when you were 27. And I don't think the chin's there anymore. And also, like Tong said, we've seen that resurgence on Jim Miller's part. 5 in his last 6. He's gotten the dub. And I just see not Bobby Green. I see Jim Miller taking this one by submission. Get him to the ground, crack him with a big shot, take his back, rear naked choke.
I'm gonna completely agree with you when it goes to that, Ryan. I mean, if we want to even get down to the stats, look at this. We're looking at a 71-inch reach. So we're looking at both of these guys with the same exact reach advantage. I do really believe that if Jim does get him to the ground, we're going to be looking at a submission. That being said, I love Bobby Green. I think these guys are both legends, veterans in the fighting game, and it's going to be a fun fight to watch. But in the end, I do believe that Jim Miller is going to take this fight.
I'm going to go with Zach here. I think he grabbed a hammer and smashed that nail perfectly. I think Bobby Green's getting the first round TKO here. I think he's going to knock out old man Miller, knock him out cold. Good night. And then I see Jim Miller finally knocking off the cobwebs, coming back too. And then Joe Rogan's like, what a career for you as he puts the gloves down. It sucks, but you know what? I think we've had enough storylines for the year of exactly how they wanted to go with Taylor Swift and the NFL and other sports like that, where I don't think Dana White's going to rig it so that the UFC gets their storyline. So I'm going Bobby Green here.
Wow. So you're calling a retirement out of Jim Miller after the fight.
Yeah. I think Bobby, I think Bobby bitch is gonna put him into a fucking in the retirement. And when he gets into the retirement home, come on down to the Hunterdon Hills Playhouse. I'll sell you a ticket with all the other senior citizens. So
All right, man. So it's 2-2 right now. I'm the final judge. And I'm gonna go with Jim Miller, baby. I think Jim Miller, I think Jim Miller is gonna take him down. I think it's gonna be a war, and I think Jim Miller wins by a split decision.
Well, you got the distance.
I got to go in the distance. Split decision, Jim Miller.
Boys, let's also circle back here for 1 second. We really just fucked up right there by not introducing him as Jim fucking Miller, like how he wants to be introed by Buffer. Come on. That was complete. All right, wait, let's move on. But
Yeah, that's
Our
on
bad.
me. That's on me. All right,
Our
let's
bad.
move over to the females, gentlemen. Jessica Andrade, -135 against Marina Rodriguez at +114. Andrade got back on track in her last fight, knocking out Mackenzie Dern after losing 3 straight, a much-needed win for her. Meanwhile, Marina is coming off a win against Michelle Waterson-Gomez after losses to Virna. Oh, wow. That's a tough name. Yandradova and Amanda Lemos. Gentlemen, who do we got in this one?
yeah, so Andrade coming in here at 32, Rodriguez 36. Rodriguez is also coming in with a 5-inch height advantage and a 3-inch reach advantage. Before we go on, I'm gonna just say why MMA math is the weirdest thing ever. Andrade beat Lemos, Lemos beat Rodriguez, Rodriguez beat Jan beat Andrade. Like how does that make sense? No idea. Um,
It's a love
this fight is
pentagon.
kind of a this fight is kind of a puzzle to me. So, and looking to bet at it, or looking to pick on who I'm going to select. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go with the woman at plus odds. Give me Rodriguez.
A gambler's mindset. I love it. Reagan, who
Speaking-
you got in this one?
that's bold. I'll take the little one. I'll take Jessica Andrade. I just feel like there's so many she's so lengthy in Rodriguez, so there's so many limbs to grab onto, and I think the little guy's just gonna get up all in there and just not just go rain hell on her. So I think it'll be a UD because I feel like it's tough to predict knockouts in women fights. So I see this going to distance, and I'll take Andrade by we'll go split decision because I think this is just gonna be ugly, boring fight, boring.
Yeah, I'm gonna completely agree with you there, Reagan. Both these fighters, I mean, they're both great fighters. You're looking at with Jessica, she's going 25-12, and then you got Rodriguez going 17-3, 2. I mean, like I agree. I think it's gonna go the distance. I really do not see these guys going out into a aggressive fighter stance. I don't think they're gonna be swinging on each other too hard. I think they're gonna be very cautious. I think both of them have been going through their camp and they've been analyzing each other. The one thing I do kind of like is Rodriguez's leg reach. She's got about 3.5 inches on Jessica, and I think that if she catches her with a good kick, maybe that's gonna put a little difference on the fight. But in the end, I think it goes the distance. I think it does go to Rodriguez though.
Zach brought up MMA math. Both these girls have beaten Mackenzie Dern. I'm just gonna take the one that did it better. Rodriguez did it by unanimous decision. Andrade did it by knockout. So just give me Jessica Andrade. I don't know. I can't say if this is gonna go the distance, if it's gonna be a finish. You can never tell with these types of fights. So I'll just take Andrade by a unanimous decision.
Yeah, this was a toss-up for me. It was tough. Obviously, you mentioned Marina's reach. I think she's going to try to get Andrade to the ground to avoid her punishing strikes. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go with the female with more power. I think it's going to be a close fight. And on the scorecards, it might be really close. I mean, Marina might even outstrike Andrade. But I think at the end of the day, Andrade does more damage and gets the job done 29-28.
By unanimous decision.
Yeah, unanimous. All right, boys. Jalen Turner -238 versus Renato Moisano +195. Turner knocked out Bobby Green in his last fight, as we mentioned. And then before that, he lost to Dan Hooker and Gamrot by split decisions in both fights. And before that, he won on a 5-fight win streak. Now for Renato, he's coming off a UDW against Dober, and he's won 4 of his last 5. So both fighters are trending upwards. Zach, who do you got in this one?
Yeah, so Turner's coming in here at 28, and Moicano is 6 years his elder at 34. Turner has 4 inches as a 4-inch height advantage as well as a 5-inch reach advantage over Moicano. Turner is an absolute monster for lightweight. Like I have no idea how this guy makes weight. He has a full striking arsenal. He's also finished all of his 14 wins. I think it's again going to be essential for him to stay off the ground and keep Moicano at the end of his strikes. And I have Turner finishing Moicano via knockout, either a knee or an elbow, when Moicano tries to close the distance for some sort of entry.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Zach here. I love this fight. I think Turner's gonna win here. And also, I didn't freaking realize. I mean, being 6'3" and being able to weigh in at 156 is just. I couldn't imagine weighing 156 at 6'1", so let alone 6'3". That's ridiculous to me. But yeah, I'll go with the younger fighter. I mean, he's got so much length. I think he's just gonna pick away with these leg kicks and stuff. So I kind of like what you're saying with the knee. So I could see a front kick to the head or knee or something like that. But I'm actually gonna take Turner first round knockout.
I gotta disagree with both of you.
Wow.
Look, like
Don't-
you said, all of Jalen Turner's wins have what come by finish. In his one loss to Dan Hooker, we saw him after round 2 completely gassed, threw it all out there. That weight cut, I think that weight cut's too brutal for him to maintain the cardio needed to keep up a high paced fight for 3 rounds. Renato Moicano comes out all gas ahead, took on RDA on 4 days' notice. He got a TKO loss, but 4 rounds out of a 5-round fight. Before that, 2 first-round submissions. He's slick off his back, has great ground game. I think he subs Turner in 2 rounds.
I'm gonna actually go back with Reagan here. I believe that Turner is going to dominate in this match. Again, I do agree that being 6'3" and making weight at 156 seems like the most unhealthy thing in the world. Not a UFC fighter, but so I can't really speak on that. But I do think that height's gonna give him that little bit of an advantage over his opponent. I'm going with Turner. I'm going with 2nd round knockout.
Yeah, this was another one that was tough for me to decide. I think Moicano has to take Turner down to win this fight, which, as Ryan mentioned, he can gas out Turner. And Turner was also taken down 4 times against Gamrot, which is why he lost that split decision at the end of the day. But ultimately, I'm going to go with the power and the reach of Turner. I do think he gets a knockout in the end of the first round. Moving on. Yusuf plus 120 versus Diego Lopez minus 142. This was another really tough one for me to pick. I don't know about you boys. Yusuf lost by UD to Barbosa's last fight. He's 7-2 in the UFC, while Lopez is on a 2-fight win streak after losing his first 2 in the UFC. Zach, who do you got?
Yeah, so Yusuf is coming in at 30 and Lopez a year younger at 29. Lopez is 2 inches taller and holds an 1.5-inch reach advantage. This one was also very tough for me going through. Yusuf had a loss to, who was that, to Arnold Allen was it Arnold Allen, Ryan?
He's lost to Arnold Allen, and he lost to Edson Barbosa in his last fight.
Barbosa's last fight, right? That was a 5-rounder?
5-rounder, yeah.
So he showed some durability in a 5-rounder with Barbosa. Diego Lopez, that guy is so experienced for being 29 years old. I think he has 29 professional fights. That is crazy. He can finish the fight on his feet or on the ground. He already has 3 performance of the night bonuses from the UFC and 3 fights. I have Lopez winning via decision here.
I'm going to have to disagree with you there. I do have Lopez, but I have it via knockout. I think he's going to turn off those lights really quick. I also like the under in total rounds in this fight, so I would take under 1.5 rounds. May not happen in the first, but it's certainly happening in the second. So, you know what? I'll say it. Early in the second, Lopez puts out the lights.
I'm gonna actually 100% agree with you right there, Reagan. I believe that Lopez is going to be a dominant fighter in this matchup. 23-6. This man has been in enough fights to understand where he's going to be at. He's got the height advantage, he's got the reach advantage, and he's got the leg reach advantage. I think that he sleeps him in the first round. I think that's going to be a quick match.
No, I think he goes back to his roots of Gavin Tucker, and he subs Sadiq Yusuf in 2 rounds. We saw he has a wicked ground game. You saw it in the Movsar Evloev fight. He took that on 6 days' notice. He got taken down, but off his back, he threw up arm bar out of nowhere with like 10 seconds left in the first round. He got an inverted triangle. I mean, this guy does things off the back, pulling guard that you just don't see a lot in modern MMA. I mean, on that same card, we saw Chrome Gracie and I'm blanking on the name of who he fought, but obviously Chrome Gracie, the jiu-jitsu background, couldn't do anything like that. And he's Alexa Grasso's MMA jiu-jitsu coach. He's disgusting in all aspects of the game, but I have him going this one by sub.
Yeah, so it's a clean sweep. I also have Lopez. As Ryan mentioned, it was his jiu-jitsu that got it done for me. I think he's going to take Yusuf down. And I do think he's going to submit Yusuf, but I'm going to go in the third round. I think it's going to be maybe 1-1 going in the third, and Lopez gets it done.
All right, so you guys hear that Yusuf is a mortal lock.
I do. Yeah, I don't know. And like Yusuf does have that puncher's chance. Diego can be a little bit chinny at times. His chin's in the air, and Sadiq does have that power, but I just don't see him getting his chance. Got to give some credit to Super Sadiq.
All right, boys. That's all 5 of us going with Lopez. Next, back to the women. Holly Holm, huh? Plus 328 right now versus Kayla Harrison at minus 440. Now, there's the big talk about Kayla potentially not making weight. It's a big cut for her going from 55 down to 35. It'll be interesting if hopefully she makes weight because I mean, her debut in the UFC has been long anticipated. People thought she was going to UFC before going over to PFL, where she did lose in the PFL. Not a lot of people expected her to lose. Holmes' last fight was in July of 2023. It was a no contest against Bueno Silva. She's been shaky ever since she beat Ronda Rousey. She's 5-6, and now she's 42 years old. Meanwhile, Harrison won her last fight by UD after losing in the PFL. Finally, Dana brings her over. Zach, are you calling the upset on Holly Holm? And is this Ronda Rousey 2.0?
Oh no, I'm not touching that. Like you mentioned before, Holmes is 42. I mean, Harrison's 33. She's still young. She's still in her prime. Holm, even her last fight really was a loss to Bueno Silva. Got overturned after Silva tested positive for Ritalin in her system because she has ADHD or something like that. So I mean, she's 1-2 in her last 3 fights. That can't overturn anything there. If Harrison is able to get down and make 35, I mean, she's only had 1 fight at 45 in her career, but if she can get down and make 35 and this fight happens, Kayla Harrison gets the job done.
Yeah, Harrison's gonna win by finish. I'll go sub. She'll submit her, throw Holly Holmes down. I feel like it'll be a first round submission. That old lady probably retires too. It'll be a Miller X Home retirement party.
I'm gonna go with Holm, man.
Wow.
Simp.
Holm. Oh, whoa. No, so listen, man, when I watched the Ronda fight and I saw Holm do what she needed to do in that fight, I honestly think that Holm is this type of fighter where when she has the spotlight and she has these big cards that puts her name in that view, I think she's ready for it. I think the drama going on with this fight with the not making weight thing is a little stupid. Like, come on, we're professionals here. Let's all take this into consideration. But Holm, second round knockout. Slam it.
Okay.
Slam it.
I got Harrison by boring decision. I think Holly Holm's good enough to defend takedowns in the beginning. Has solid submission defense, and Harrison's just gonna ride her for probably like 10 minutes of time. And that's if she makes weight. I mean, I have to assume that before even signing with the UFC, they made her do like a test weight cut to make sure that she could get down to 135. I mean, if you're going to throw a UFC debutante on UFC 300, you have to be absolutely sure that she can make weight and the fight won't get called off. So assuming she makes weight, I think this is just one where you just go take your shit break for the card. Not going to be boring. It's going to be a boring fight. There's nothing else I can really say about it.
This is the bathroom.
Take your smoke break. Yeah. Call your girlfriend. Do what you got to do.
If you're at a bar, go get a beer then. You don't have to be watching the whole time. Go get your drink.
It's one you can look away from.
Yeah, I mean, I do acknowledge what you said, Spence. Like, Holly Holm is a gamer. She always has these big fights, given her name recognition, obviously with the Ronda Rousey, and then she lost it right away to Miesha Tate. But she has fought a lot of really good fighters. But Kayla's a former 2-time gold medalist in judo. She has 6 wins by sub and 6 by knockout. So it's tough for me to predict how she's going to win. It might go the distance. I don't know. I just think Holm at this point of her career is kind of washed. She's only really in this spot because of her name. If the Kayla hype is real, she should beat her pretty soundly, in my opinion.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I kind of look at Holly. I kind of look at her as like almost like a Tony Ferguson in the women's division. She's like this type of fighter. It's like has such a legacy behind her, and it's like you want to see her win. You want to see her do good, and it's just like I'm gonna ride Holly. I think Holly's still gonna get the job done, but if I see her take the L in this fight, I'm not gonna be too surprised. But I think it'll be an okay fight to watch.
I sure hope so. I sure hope we get a lot of good fights on this card, given the names that are on it. Including this next fight, man. Calvin Kattar plus 136 versus Aljamain Sterling, moving up at minus 162 in this fight. Kattar's lost 2 in a row to Arnold Allen and Josh Emmett. Lost 3 of his last 4, and that includes the ass beating that Max Holloway put on him. Sterling had a 9-fight win streak, including wins over Cejudo, Dillashaw, and Petr Yan twice, even though one of them, come on, Petr Yan was going to win that fight. But it did come to an end by the fucking right hand of Sugar Sean O'Malley.
Sugar Sean.
Yeah, I love the Sugar Show. Everyone was saying, oh, Aljo's going to backpack Sugar Sean. Did not get it done. I'm curious in this one, guys. Kattar is a striker. Is Aljo going to change up his game plan? He's going to try to take him down, even though Kattar does have solid takedown defense. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, so Kattar is coming in to this one at 36 and Aljo is 34. Kattar holds a 4-inch height advantage as well as a 1-inch reach advantage. Kattar is coming off an injury loss against Arnold Allen, and he's been inactive. He's been out of the octagon for a year and a half since then. While he does have very sharp striking and a 91% takedown defense, I do think Aljo and his chain wrestling will find a way to get Kattar on the ground to at least steal 1 round via ground control. And I have Aljo picking up this fight via decision.
Yeah, I mean, I have Sterling here. It's kind of bullshit in my opinion that this fight's even happening. Like he should have had a redemption fight with O'Malley, I think. I don't know. I mean, kind of crazy to me that you were the champ and held it for as long as you multiple fights. But you know what? I respect him for taking a fight against a lower ranked guy. He has a lot to lose here, so I think he knows that, and this is a huge fight if he wants another title shot, because he will get another title shot, especially if he wins this. But I'll take Sterling here. He's just the more established fighter, been in a lot more big fights, and clearly, and this will actually be, now that I think about it, this will be his first 3-round fight in a while. Yeah, he hasn't fought a 3-round fight in 5 fights now.
I'm gonna be on that train too. I'm a big Sterling fan. I think that he is a great fighter. I mean, both these fighters are coming off of losses. I like Sean. I think Sean did the work on Sterling. I think that he slept Sterling in a way that was almost in the Jose Aldo way, like with Conor McGregor, just caught him in a really good jab and a good right hook. I do think that Sterling might try to drag this one out. But I think in the end, I'm liking it actually going to the distance, but I want Sterling to take that scorecard at the end.
I think people forget how easy Sterling submitted Corey Sandhagen when they fought at bantamweight, and I think this is going to be the exact same. He gets that body lock triangle, takes the back of Calvin Kattar, and just subs him within 2 rounds. I mean, I know he's moving up in weight, so the size difference might make a play there, but Sterling's always been big for his weight class. I think when he fought at 135, he was walking around like 170. So obviously huge. It's a draining weight cut. I think he'll be fresher. I think this is his new home. And who knows? I mean, I think Sterling wins pretty dominantly. And we'll see what happens from there with the whole featherweight division now that Ilya has the belt. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I agree. Sterling went up because his boy Merab he saw him rising up the ranks, and he wanted ideally for him to run this division and Merab to run bantamweight. I do have Sterling in this one as well. I think even though Kattar does have solid takedown defense, 18 months is a pretty long layoff, and Aljo's been pretty active. And I don't know. I was torn between going Aljo by decision or by sub. And also, Aljo has underrated power. Like, I think he can land some good shots on Kattar. But ultimately, I don't think that's the strategy he should go for if he wants to win this fight. And also, I mean, he got knocked out. When was the last time he got knocked out? when Piotr Jan hit him kneed him in the face. Like, it's been
He
a
didn't
while.
even get
So
knocked out there.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's true. He ate that, but yeah, I'm gonna go Aljo here, but I can't decide if I'm gonna go by decision or by submission. But I don't know. I think his championship pedigree really shines in this fight as well. Moving on, boys. Yuri is back. Plus 100 versus Alexander Rakic, minus 120. I'm not going to lie. I was surprised that Yuri was the underdog. He had to give up the belt due to his shoulder injury. He did get knocked out by Pereira. Rakic was knocked out by Blachowicz in his last fight. It's his first fight since tearing a ligament in his knee in May of 2022. So that's nearly a 2-year layoff. But he is 6-2 in the UFC. This is a very dangerous fight. Zach, who do you got in this one?
Yeah, so Yuri's coming into this one at 31. Rakic is 32. Rakic holds a 1-inch height advantage, and Yuri holds a 2-inch reach advantage. Yuri, very fluent striker. 28 of 29 wins have come by finish, and before he got finished by Pereira, I do think he was looking pretty decent in that fight. Rakic, on the other hand, he hasn't fought in almost 2 years, coming off a knee injury against Jan Blachowicz. In that fight, it was 29-29 going into the third, so that was also a competitive fight. But Rakic really doesn't have many notable wins outside of like Thiago Santos. So I'm kind of surprised that he's the favorite in this one too. I have Yuri via TKO, via knockout or TKO.
Yeah, I'm taking Yuri by the first round knockout. I mean, it's if you're gonna take him, like you were saying, you might as well take him by a knockout if he's got 25 of his 29 wins. Actually, he only has one win by decision. That's kind of crazy, also. But yeah, I'll take the more established guy. I mean, he's fought in title fights. He's had the belt for, well, I guess only 2 fights, but still, I think he's going to get back there and deserves another title shot. So I think this is a huge match for him and a big stepping stone.
I completely agree, Zach. I do also agree with the whole Pereira Yuri fight. I think Yuri looked very good in that fight. I'm a huge fan of Yuri. I think that he's a great fighter. I think his striking game is very on point. I think the only thing that we're going to see here is going to be going the distance. I think Yuri's the type of fighter when he goes the distance where he starts making sloppy mistakes. Not saying that he's getting gassed, but when we looked at the Pereira fight, it looked like he kind of made a few more mistakes in those later times. I want to see Yuri knock out Rakic in, I want to say, like, the first.
I still don't have a decision on this fight. I came in here just completely 50-50. I think both guys have their strengths. Yuri's been so susceptible to leg kicks throughout his entire career. You saw that in the Pereira fight. Pereira took his legs out right from under him within like the first 2.5 minutes of round 1. He's so vulnerable with the calf kicks. At the same time, it's that awkward movement that allows him, and that awkward striking pattern that allows him to get like these highlight reel finishes. And I don't know how Rakic will face up with that once he's in the octagon, seeing it firsthand. Duck, weave, throwing up like this, and then boom, spinning elbow. I think ultimately I'm going to take Yuri by knockout. But the caveat to that is if those leg kicks start adding up, expect Rakic to get a finish. If Rakic attacks the legs, he's finishing him within 3 rounds.
I like that you guys brought up that Yuri finishes everybody because Rakic hasn't finished anyone since 2019. So it's, a little mashup of different styles here and how they win fights. Ultimately, I just think Yuri is the better overall fighter. I hate that he had to give up his belt when he did due to the shoulder. Obviously, losing to Pereira is tough, but I mean, Pereira's a fucking beast. Let's be honest. It's not a bad loss. So ultimately, I went with Yuri, but I do acknowledge what you said, Ryan. The leg kicks do worry me when Yuri fights, absolutely. But I don't know. I think we might see a highlight finish here. I don't think it goes the distance, but I think Yuri gets it done in the later rounds. All right, to the main card, boys. Wow, Bo Nickel minus 2,100 versus Cody Brundage at plus 1,100. Nickel's 4-0 in the UFC. He's always a massive favorite, at least minus 1,000 odds. In his last fight, he did show that knockout power. After subbing 3 opponents, people wanted to see him strike, and he got it done. He had a brutal knockout, and Brundage has now won 2 in a row following a 3-fight losing streak. I just think ultimately they're feeding him to the wolves here with Bo Nickel. They're trying to groom him, build up his star power. That's why he's on the main card. Zach, I know Bo Nickel's your boy. Tell us how he's going to win.
Yeah, so Nickel holds the height advantage and a 4-inch reach advantage. What I'm really curious to see is how much Bo Nickal progressed since the last time we saw him in the octagon. He's taken the last 9 months off, for his own words, to go and focus on his own game and improving. He said that 12 months prior to that, he took all five professional fights, and that he basically had 5 training camps stacked up on top of each other. And in his training camps, he wasn't able to evolve as much as he wanted to. So I'm just curious to see the big jump in the jump in his skill gap between the last time we saw him back in July to now. Brunage is just a sacrificial lamb. I don't know whether he gets it done via a choke or he punches his face in, but it's going to be a round 1 finish for Nickal.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of bullshit that the fact that he is one of the main fights here. Like, I get from a business perspective, you're trying to build him up, but the fact that you have multiple former champs on the undercard and you decide you're going to give it to a guy, and it would be one thing if he was actually fighting a guy that, like, he's minus 2,500, so to make this a main card fight's a little nutty to me, but whatever. Business, it makes sense if you're trying to build up the guy. But I'm going to go by submission here. He's just a better wrestler. Like, yeah, he could probably strike him, or he could knock him down with a nice punch, and then maybe he just hops on and chokes him out. So I'm going to go sub here. But I think the real question here is, does he knock him out? Does it go the distance? Or does he sub him? Because he's winning. Let's be honest. He's winning. You don't put a guy who you're trying to build up on the main card to lose.
I'm gonna agree with you. I think Bo Nickal's almost kind of like a golden child with the UFC. Don't get me wrong, I love Bo Nickal. When he was wrestler at Penn State, I used to pay attention to him all the time. I think he was a great wrestler. I think he has the legacy behind him to hold what he has now. I believe that he was on the prelims and Yuri's fight was standing over him in the beginning. I agree with you, Reagan. I believe that we have too many past forward champions on these fights below him. But that being said, I do think that since these times of Bo Nickal's time off from the fighting, I do think that Bo Nickal's going to kind of go out there again with that whole hype train of, oh, is he going to submit? Oh, is he going to use his knockout power? I like him in the knockout more. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not a really big fan of this fight. I think that, like, it's like feeding the wolves, like we've all been saying. I love Bo Nickal, but I would rather him see somebody better, somebody who can put up that submission game as good as he can.
Yeah, I hate this fight. I'll be completely honest, I hate this fight. One, I don't think this fight belongs on UFC 300. I think Bo belongs on UFC 300. I don't think this fight does. Definitely does not deserve to be on the main card. I mean, Yuri just headlined Madison Square Garden in November, fought for a belt, easily could put him up there once held a belt. Going off that, Cody Brunage's last 2 fights, he has like the most fraudulent two win streak in the UFC right now. Fluke KO slam on Zachary Reese, and then before that, he lost due to a DQ to back of the head shots. It's really clear what the UFC is doing here, throwing him to the wolves, giving Bo Nickal what's supposed to be a easy first round finish, trying to build his hype. I think that's the wrong way to go about it. If you want to build up the hype of Bo Nickal, give him a Russian wrestler. Bo Nickal comes from that pure American wrestling background. I would have loved to have seen him fought someone like Ikram Aliskerov, like the only guy to stuff all of Hamzat's takedowns, who Hamzat eventually knocked out on the regional scene, but still makes for a much more exciting fight, gets his name out there, something that might still don't think that fight belongs in the main card, maybe the prelim fight of the night, but this is just like, I think this is just horrible matchmaking on the UFC's part. But obviously Bo Nickal by finish. It's Bo Nickal by whatever he wants. Like, we'll just keep it a buck here.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see if Bo's going to try out some new tricks that he's learned the last 9 months. You know, maybe he goes with a spinning back kick out of nowhere just for fun, because Bo's going to win this fight. They're grooming him. It's obvious. It's time for him after this fight to fight a ranked opponent. I think it's time. You know, he's seen as the best prospect. Is he even considered a prospect anymore? I mean, this is going to be his 5th fight in the UFC, but, you know.
I don't know, dude. He's only been striking for 2.5 years in his career. You don't want to rush it. Like, the guy still has a lot of time. Like, he still has so many years where it's like you got to focus on his development fighting wise and building up his striking and whatnot right now before you go and feed him to the wolves. Like, this matchup, I don't agree with it either. I would have liked to see way more of a jump up in competition, but I still think his next fight, you find someone around the 20 range, 15 to 20, not ranked, right outside the rankings, and one more before you go into the rankings.
Ikram Aliskerov. It's
Yep,
right
there you
there
go.
for the taking.
There you go,
Yeah,
Ryan.
that'd
Someone like
be a
that
sick
makes
fight.
sense. after this
American
fight.
versus Russian wrestling. It would sell like a
Yeah.
motherfucker. Like,
I'm also
And
gonna
it-
say, like, this is something that kind of makes me mad when it comes to the UFC. It's just like, I get it. Like, when you put these fighters on there, they're gonna get numbers. Like, you're gonna get more pay-per-views. Like, you're gonna put something like Bo Nickel on a card, you're gonna get more pay-per-views. But it's like, Bo Nickel's coming out of this. He's 5-0. What was he? 3-0 in the prelims. Got brought up. Is that true?
yeah, he
He
did
was
Dana
Or not
White's contender
prelims,
series
in,
twice.
the contender series.
Yeah, he was 2-0 on the contender series.
Yeah, he was in contender series for a little bit, but it's like it almost kind of seems unfair to all these other guys who maybe don't have their name as known as Bows, and like they're working as hard as they can, and it makes me more mad that Yuri got taken off of the main card. Again, that being said, Bo Nickel does have a legacy, but I would like to see him maybe like slow down a little bit, maybe kind of Dana White give him a little bit more of like fighters that can be against him in a better fashion.
No, I think at the end of the day, like this isn't how you build up a fighter. I feel like more people hate Bo Nickel now than they would have because he's on the main card of UFC 300. Because like a lot of
Yeah,
those diehard fans that have been there since the beginning, like they see a guy who's had what 2, 3 fights in the UFC, Dana White's contender series. He hasn't earned his place to be on the main card of like a historic event. So I think all around is just bad card placement.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, Ryan. I think it's very weird as well how they structured this card. Like you have Garbrandt and you have the Garbrandt and Figueiredo opening up the event. I'm assuming that's because what they want viewership straight from the get-go. Get
Yeah, you
Yeah,
gotta
everyone
open
that's
up
a
with
going.
a
really fun
banger.
fight
So,
to
like,
start.
You got to
Definitely.
open up with the
At,
banger.
at the end of the day, like all these fights are going to be watched by everyone. I don't. It's not even like the guy even wanted to be on the main card. It is weird though. Like I wonder what the rationale this like for putting him on the main card there was. I don't know.
I mean, good for Cody Brundage. Come on, like
Yeah.
clap it up for Cody. Main card UFC 300. Like,
Yeah,
biggest
congrats,
payday.
Cody. All
I
your
hope
hard
he's
work paid
getting
off.
hope he's getting pay-per-view points because
Oh yeah, he's getting the biggest
UFC is
payday.
just bending him over. But
He's getting the
it is
biggest
what it
payday
is.
of his life. Even if he gets knocked out, he's still getting like probably more than he's made in his career. Like
I'd hope so.
I don't think he can lose in this fight.
Well, I think his UFC career is going to be over after Bo punches him in the face with a right hook and then jumps on his back, chokes him out with the rear naked, and then we'll see on Monday Brundage cut from the UFC roster.
Yeah, Brundage is goner, dude. He's a goner. He needs to put on
Yeah,
something
no,
special if he
Oh,
wants to
he'll be
It's a
cut with
retirement
save his
fight.
job.
$1 million though.
You guys are fucking assholes. Never like cheer for somebody to lose their job. Are you kidding me?
I'm not
What the
saying I'm
hell,
cheering
Colin?
for it. I just an educated.
Why would you
guess. I think
predict
that's
that?
what's gonna
Why would
happen.
you even put that negativity in the
Yeah,
air?
I
I
would've
will
thought
never
that,
call
but-
for someone's job. That is so messed up. You're
I
a
would've
pig.
I'm
thought
not
that.
calling for it. I said I think that's what's going to happen.
I'm
Why would
calling
don't
for
even
it.
put
Cody
that
Brundage out of the
negative?
UFC. See you
don't even
later.
put
Let's move
that
on
negative-
to Charles and Armin.
That's
Nah,
disrespectful.
it's not even that, man. Like he was on Brundage was on his media day yesterday and he was saying, like I'm gonna be the one to upset Bo Nickel. He hasn't, I'm the one to test him. It's like test what? You haven't been tested yourself in the UFC. Like it's just horrible. I hate this fight. There's nothing more I can really say about it. I fucking hate this fight.
I hate this fight so much, and I'm so mad. Like I keep repeating myself. I'm so mad. This is a main event fight. Like it makes me just not want to watch it.
You know
It's
what,
not
boys?
even
Since
that.
we
It
all hate
rubs
this
off.
fight being on
I
the
hate
main
Bo
card
Nickel
so
too
much,
now. There you go.
since we hate this fight so much, let's move on to the next one, huh?
Yeah, let's get away from this one.
Charles de Bronx Oliveira plus 185 underdog against Arman Tasakarian minus 225 favorite to Sirkin. Say it, Ryan.
Sarukian.
Sarukian. See, dude, that's like fucking really difficult.
Brutal, I
Charles
know.
had
Guaranteed.
11 fight win streak with wins over Gaethje, Poirier, Chandler, and Ferguson before getting subbed by Islam. He did bounce back with a knockout win over Dariush in the first. People sleep on Charles's power, dude, I swear. Arman is also coming off a first-round knockout victory over Dariush. He's won 8 of his last 9. Zach, are you riding with the Bronx in this one?
So Armin's coming in at 27, and Charles is 7 years his elder at 34. Charles is 3 inches taller and holds an 1.5-inch reach advantage. Since this fight was announced out the get-go, I was Charles. I'm actually flopping to Armin on this one. Charles can be a tiny bit chinny, and I think with Armin's chain wrestling, he's not going to be able to just go and pull guard on Armin. He's going to jump on him. It's just going to be too much constant pressure, kind of like what happened with Islam. I don't know how this fight's going to end, but I am leaning Armin.
Yeah, I'm going Charles. Interestingly enough, I was just looking. So we got a little weird triangle here, but both fighters beat Dariush, but Dariush beat Gamrot, who beat Tarkinson or whatever, however the hell you pronounce it. So I find that interesting that they were both able to beat Dariush, but then a guy that was able to beat him lost to Dariush. So I mean, obviously fighters get better. It happened a while ago, but I'm gonna go with Charles just because outside of one loss to Makhachev, like he's just been so freaking dominant. So it's hard for me to fade a guy when he's just was on such a tear. And then okay, you lose to Makhachev, but then you go and dominate Dariush. So I don't know. I think Makhachev might just be that next level, and Oliveira is like the next closest thing.
Listen, I'm gonna be as biased, and I hate to say how biased might it be, but it's gonna be Charles the Bronx, Charles the Bronx, Charles the Bronx, all fucking day. I love him. I think that Charles is going to make a spectacular show out of this fight. I think that he's been fighting fighters who have been so well known in the UFC that this man has that starlight behind him where he's not going to go into this fight underprepared. He's going to go into this fight prepared. Now, that being said, I like Arman. I think Arman's going to be a great fighter. I think Arman is going to be someone that's going to put Charles to the test. But that being on that end, Charles go naked choke. Second round.
Yeah, I got Charles by KO, TKO. I think he'll catch him the same way he did Chandler. Sarukian's last fight, he fought a nobody. It's like Joaquim Silva. He got wobbled with a left hook by an unranked, no name fighter. Clipped him. Charles much better striking on the field in that Islam fight until he tried throwing a wild like flying front kick. Islam caught him. The only difference was that Islam wasn't scared to go to the ground with him. But other than that, he was defending takedowns. He did well on the ground, stuffing takedowns, getting back up. And I think we've seen this before. We saw this with the Dustin Poirier, the Moss Anthony fights. These guys that come in, they build up somewhat of a name for themselves. And Sarukian more established, obviously, but they build up this name. They fight a guy in the top 3, top 4 of the lightweight division, and then they just get fraud checked. Fiziev fought Gaethje.
Yep.
Gaethje mopped him.
Do you not think Armin's fraud check would have came in his last fight when he slept Dariush in a minute though, or
Nah, I mean, because Charles did the same thing. Not in a minute, not like that, but he knocked him out in the first round, head kick, the punches, ground and pound, and his lights out. I think Dariush always one of those guys that was just right there to get to the belt, but will never actually have gotten it. Like he's had his chances so many times. He's a great fighter, but
yeah, I agree. Sorry,
Zach.
I think that, like, also that being said about Charles, I love how Charles's career has gone. I think that people look at Charles as this guy who, like, a lot of people gave him a lot of like crap about him crying in the octagon and the whole like, oh, like man up. But Charles the Bronx has made himself a name. Like everyone knows who Charles is. And I think going into this fight, I think that like my majority of the public is going behind Charles.
Go ahead, Zach.
I was just saying, when we were talking his last fight against Dariush, Ryan, you were just talking about his like level of competition and saying like, level of competition's been kind of low outside of like the Islam fight in his debut. I was just saying, that Dariush fight was kind of like the fraud check a little bit for me, where like I know Dariush isn't on that level as those top guys in that division, but I do think that was a test against some legitimate competition where I do think Armin is legit.
absolutely no. I 100% agree. I think he dipped his toes in the water to like what the elite of like the lightweight division has to offer. But then again, like when you look at that stack, like Dariush older on the bottom tier, and I think Charles like is just a different animal. Like at the end of the day, Charles offers problems for. Hey,
You're on the phone with Drock right now.
You just FaceTime me.
He's subway surfing.
He is way surfing. Ryan, you led right into my point about how Armand has dipped his toes in the water. Well, Charles has been swimming in the deep waters with sharks for years now. And I love that Charles has been battle tested against some of the baddest motherfuckers on the planet. He's gone down in round one several times where he gets starched, he loses the round, and he comes back and gets it done, whether by knockout or by submission. And you did
Um,
mention Makachev was the guy that was not afraid to go to the ground with him. I don't know.
I
I
mean,
mean, if Charles, go ahead.
Sarukian won't either. If he wants, Sarukian's got that same pedigree of just like Eastern European wrestling, and he's like I said, he gave Islam what for in the grappling department when they fought. But
Yeah, no, yeah, he's very dangerous in the ground as well. That's why I think Charles. I still just think Charles is going to be better on the feet as well. Um, I don't know. I'm just going to go with his pedigree. I think he's really hungry. I don't know if you guys have seen his interviews that have come out this week, but him just talking about what DeBronx means to him and coming back from all that adversity, coming back from nothing, and that's why he looks up and he cries in the octagon because he's like, I cannot believe I'm here. And I'm sorry, I just will never bet against Charles Oliveira when he dyes his hair blonde. So I think he's dying to get his belt back and I think he gets it done here. I don't know the way he gets it done. I just know I'm rocking with Charles.
I
yeah, and let
actually,
me can I
sorry.
backtrack for a second? When I'm saying I'm leaning Armin, just let me clear this right now. By no means does that mean I'm throwing a single dollar on Armin. I will never doubt Charles as an underdog. So let me just get that, I want that to be clear before we move on.
I was just gonna bring up. I think like this. The only problem with like these two matchups, Gaethje Holloway, and then obviously Sarukian and Charles, is like I think the lightweight division is kind of in shambles right now as to who gets that title fight.
Oh,
Because
Ryan, you're leading right into what I was going to bring up right after the Gaethje fight.
okay, I'll wait. I'll wait.
Hold it, because we want to talk
I'll hold
about
it.
Gaethje, and then we'll talk about that. Justin Gaethje minus 170 against Max Holloway plus 142, the BMF title fight. Man, this is probably the fight that most people are looking forward to the most on this card. Obviously, Gaethje coming off that vicious head kick knockout of Dustin Poirier, and Poirier just does not get knocked out, and that's after he put on a show against Fiziev. He did lose to Charles by sub before that, but Charles, that's when Charles was on his tear. He is looking to get this dub. He's already talking about the Islam fight. That does worry me a little bit. Like he's kind of overlooking Holloway. But Max has won his last 5 to guys not named Alexander Volkanovski. He had good wins over Cater, Yair, Arnold Allen, and the Korean Zombie, your boy Ryan. And a fun little stat here. Holloway has landed triple-digit significant strikes in 11 straight fights, besides the Korean Zombie fight. So I mean, for me, it's a fight of power versus output here. Zach, who do you got in this one?
Yeah, so Gaethje's coming in at 35. Holloway's 3 years younger at 32. Same height. Gaethje has a 1 inch reach advantage, so pretty much a wash there. In this one, I like Gaethje's power. I like the power in his shots. I just think the power might prove to be a little bit too much with the damage dealt. With that being said, Max needs to avoid, sitting there and trading shots with Gaethje and needs to just string together some volume in order to pull that one out. But I have Gaethje via unanimous decision.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Gaethje here. I actually think he might knock out Holloway just because he has that knockout potential. I mean, obviously, Holloway is a very tough fighter. He's never been knocked out before, so that's a big thing. But I just think with Gaethje's knockout power, I think he's going to catch him here. I just really think he's driven to go get that rematch against Makhachev. Or no, wait, no, he never fought Makhachev.
No,
Did
he has not fought
No,
Makhachev.
No, he didn't. But he
No.
wants to fight with Makhachev. Yeah, because obviously the last time was when he lost to Oliveira. So I'm going Gaethje here by knockout.
See, I'm gonna go against what you guys have said. I'm not a big Gaethje fan. I was a big Dustin fan. Going to that fight, I was a little upset to see that fight end the way it did. Again, being a little biased when I say that, but this is also Max Holloway, the best motherfucking striker in the UFC. Let's all talk about that. But that being said, I think that his chin is going to come to an advantage when it comes to Gaethje, because Gaethje is a big guy when it comes to knocking people down and like bleeding them down. I think Max Holloway gets this done in, I want to say decision.
I think Holloway puts him away. I think it'll be a standing TKO in the 4th or 5th. You've seen Max just unload and throw those like 15, 20 shot combinations as the fight goes on. He doesn't get tired. And then going back to Gaethje's power, one, obviously Max has never been dropped, knocked out, or gotten knocked down. He's also absorbed the most significant head strikes of any UFC fighter, which isn't the greatest look, obviously. But to Gaethje's power, when he fought Chandler, Chandler walked him down and ate his best shots for breakfast.
Yep.
You all know that third round. Chandler with his hands down, walking forward, getting punched in the face by Gaethje, couldn't put him away. So I mean, power is there, but how much power really is it? I mean, Charles was able to put Chandler with the left hook, knock him out. So I think the power is like a little bit overrated here. And I think cardio and Max's just durability is going to play the biggest part in this fight. I think Gaethje's going to go out swinging, throw those wild haymakers, get a little bit tired. He's not going to gas, but he's going to get a little bit tired. And all those shots to the body, all those like 40-piece combinations are just going to add up at the end. And I think it's going to be a standing TKO against the cage. Same way with Dustin.
I think this is going to be an all-out war. I have Gaethje by decision. I think it's going to go all 5, and both dudes land over 200 significant strikes. I'm so excited for this fight. I'm not putting any money on this. I just want to enjoy it as a fan, and I would not be surprised if Max gets the win either, because I think Max is going to land more, but I think Gaethje might have more moments, in my opinion. Also, Max is going up a weight class, which I think has to be taken into consideration as well. I don't know.
I disagree with you there on the going up, because he fought Dustin at 155, and he took him on like 5-6 weeks notice. Not enough time to bulk, not enough time to really prepare to move up to a weight class. But Max has known about this fight for months.
When was that fight?
Years ago, a couple years ago, like 2021, 2022. Yeah, he took Dustin on 6 weeks notice, last minute replacement call. I forget who Dustin was supposed to fight, but you saw like a fat Max Holloway. Now you see him, he's bulked up for the weight class. He's prepared to take a fight at 155, a lot better than he was. And he took Dustin to a 5-round war on short notice.
I feel like this is a fight that we're all looking forward to watching. I think we all see who wins this, but as somebody who's a fan of both these legendary fighters, like it's just something that you don't want to see. Like, you're going to be sad in the end because you're going to look at one guy walking away with a loss, but you're going to look at the other guy going ahead with that win. But that being said, I think that's what's going to make this fucking fight the best thing that we're going to see in a long time.
Wait, why is this a 5-round fight?
It's the BMF title.
Baby.
Ryan, I know you were talking about Holloway absorbing the most amount of significant strikes in UFC history, never been knocked down, never dropped, never been dropped, never knocked out. But, dude, I don't think it will happen, but a chin has to crack at some point, right? I mean, everyone was like, oh, Ngannou will never get knocked out. And look what the fuck happened to that guy. I know it's boxing. I know it's different. And they're also heavyweights. The power is different at heavyweight, but chins do crack eventually, dude, which scares me a little bit for Max taking this fight against Gaethje.
They do break, but I think Max is still young enough, like not weather the storm too much. 32, yeah. 33.
32
for me,
fights,
35 is the cliff.
32 fights, 32 years old. No, the age is fine, but he's like aged beyond his years, given how much. I know he doesn't spar, but like he's just taken so much like damage.
You can't spar when you get punched in the face that much. I mean, let's face it, permanent CTE. Like,
when you hear him talk, he just sounds like he's going punch drunk too. Like, I don't know.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
at some point,
it's
like,
the brutality of the sport.
Yeah, it scares me a little bit though. I don't think his chin necessarily does crack, but if it does, Justin, I think would be the guy. And also, like, if he throws up a head kick, like if that, like the head kick that landed on Poirier lands on anyone, like anyone's going out. So
now back to the question that you posed earlier, Ryan. Let's assume that both Charles and Gaethje win. What does the UFC do next? It seems like Makhachev is going to be fighting Dustin. They're chirping on Twitter. They were chirping today.
Yeah,
but
it's the murmur.
Both of these men would be deserving of the title shot if they both win. And Gaethje's already talking about potentially fighting Makhachev at MSG in November. And he says, I don't want to fight Makhachev in Abu Dhabi, which I don't think anybody does. No. But if they both win, who gets it after Dustin Poirier? And also, he just fucking hit Poirier with a head kick. It's the timing that didn't work out for him. But he's almost more deserving than Poirier is. But who do you guys think? Who gets it?
It's a weird one for sure. I mean, after Dustin's spectacular win over Benoit, he shot himself right back up there in the title contention, no doubt. And I think it's at this point it's just timing. Dustin's the fresher fighter. He'll be ready if they do make that fight in June at Prudential. So be it. I know Islam's been talking about fighting in June for months now, waiting until Ramadan was over. Wants a fight in June, so he's going to take that. He's demanding it at this point. So I think Justin's going to get the next title shot at the end of the day. Like, that's it. And then in terms of Gaethje and Olives winning, I think you have to give it to Olives. He has a win over Gaethje, first round sub, cracked him with a right, straight right. He won it in dominant fashion. He was the reigning champ. I mean, technically he only defended his belt once. He missed weight against Gaethje, but he's the more deserving opponent at the end of the day.
Now,
unless
Ryan,
you make
does your
a
opinion
title
change?
eliminator.
Yeah, you could do that as well, but does your opinion change if, say, Charles wins by a split and Gaethje knocks out Holloway? Like, does the
absolutely.
fashion and how they win, does that play a factor?
Absolutely. I mean, you see that. Absolutely, it does. If Gaethje wins by knockout and Charles takes like a split decision win, Gaethje gets it. You see that now. Steve Ursay is going to fight at 301 for the belt, number 10 ranked guy, third UFC fight. And I think Muhammad Mokaev definitely deserved the belt a lot, or deserved the chance at the title a lot more than Steve Ursay. But Steve Ursay fought on the same card as him, and he knocked his guy out. Did it in spectacular fashion. He knocked him out. And Mokaev crotch sniffed his dude for 3 rounds, couldn't put him away, an older opponent. And when you're talking, like, you're looking at exciting fighters, exciting champions that are going to draw in a lot of money for the UFC, the guys that get those spectacular finishes are always going to get the first nod at the end of the day.
Wait,
What do
so
you guys think?
you guys kind of glossed over it, but they're fighting for the BMF title. What is that?
Yeah, badass.
Are you fucking kidding me, dude?
Badass
Yeah,
Badass
I'm-
motherfucker.
Badass motherfucker belt.
The fuck's wrong with you? How do you not know that?
Well, first off, I guess I'm not as big of a fan as you guys, hence why I'm not wearing a UFC shirt. And
Casual.
Honestly,
I'm sure there's people listening that don't know it either. So that's another reason why I want you to say it, not only for myself, but I'm sure there's definitely people who are going to be listening to this podcast who do not know that.
It's a fairy tale belt, and it's nuts.
Ryan,
It's
yeah, besides it being a
It's
fairy tale
kind of a
belt, it's
weird-
made-up belt,
It's kinda
but
weird.
yeah,
made
Ryan,
up
can you
belt so
explain
that
it?
the UFC can make more
so
money.
like the BMF belt gives the UFC an excuse to put on like a championship caliber fight when there's no active champions ready, or like that either through injury or just timing that are ready to fight when they have to put on these pay-per-views at least once a month. And that's why you had the Dustin Gaethje fight for the BMF belt last June.
Baddest motherfucker.
Yeah, I
And
know.
the first one was
and
I
that's
know
why it
in
was
the-
a
in the
5-round
UFC
fight.
Exactly.
In the
It's a way for them to
contract-
sell pay-per-views. It's a way for them to put on a pay-per-view event without
They didn't
having
even
an
need to do
actual
it.
championship.
Yeah, because in
They
the
didn't even
UFC's
need to do it
contract
for
with
this one either. That's the funny part. They already
With
had a
the
stacked
It's
card.
UFC 300. You got to show out.
Yeah, of course.
with
Yeah.
the UFC's contract they signed with ESPN, it's a requirement for them to have a title fight on each pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, that
So
makes
it's just
sense.
like a loophole. Yeah, it's just a loophole for them to
Get another
away with.
5-round fight on there.
Absolutely, yeah.
and the first BMF fight was between Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz,
Yeah.
which Masvidal won, and he's walking around with the BMF belt. It is a pretty badass looking belt. Didn't Dwayne The Rock Johnson put it on
Yeah,
him
he
too?
presented it. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so it's
So what
like
do they do it once a year?
No, I mean, I think
Uh-huh.
after Masvidal won it, it was like a couple years. The first time was Gaethje and Dustin was
Okay.
the. So
Yeah,
like,
they brought it
this will be
back.
the third. This will be the third fight. I mean, they brought it back. When Masvidal retired, like I guess technically he relinquished the BMF belt, but like he never defended it because at the end of it, it's a fake belt. Like
it is a
it's-
fake belt, and it's more so just like they said. They give it to guys that are exciting fighters, like at fireworks every time they fight, and they get into wars. So like if
Oh.
Gaethje wins this BMF title, it's not like he's gonna fight Makhachev next and it's a belt versus belt. Like, nah, it's still Gaethje's belt. They're not gonna give the BMF belt to Makhachev as he holds the division, because then it handcuffs them what they can do. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
That's funny.
it's yeah. So if Gaethje wins and doesn't fight Makhachev, they can give it to, I don't know, someone else in the division. Maybe goes up. I don't know. It's just something for them to sell some more clicks. But
Yeah,
I
I
don't
didn't
know.
know that, and I'm sure people listening. Well, if we get anybody that's not a nitty gritty fan, I'm sure they didn't know it either. That's cool. That's cool.
Well, I do have a question. That's what do you at the end of the day? It's like if Holloway wins, what do you do with him in terms of the lightweight division? Because I mean, Gaethje's right up there for a title fight. Holloway, his pedigree, you could argue that he's earned, if he beats Gaethje in spectacular fashion, he's earned a title fight at lightweight. I mean, at least I think so. I might be crazy, but he's at least earned at least a title eliminator fight for the belt at lightweight, or he gets the shot outright.
I think title eliminator if he beats Gaethje. I think he needs one more to get a crack at that belt.
But
It's
then
just
again,
such a
I see it
crowded
moving
division.
down.
Yeah, it's so crowded, and
right.
there's just so many guys at the top there that it's hard to just like come up, win one fight, and then fight for the belt when you've had guys waiting in line for.
But then again,
I
you
mean,
could
I
say
guess
the same
timing,
thing.
man, timing. I guess. Well,
And timing is everything. And also, like, now that I think about it, it's Holloway will probably go back down to try to kill Taporia. I mean, if
Yeah, if
anyone's
he
earned the
beats
title
Gaethje,
fight,
he
if
probably gets
anyone's
the
earned the title fight,
yeah.
even if he loses, he's earned that. He's earned that fight against Taporia. I mean, Volk might get his rematch. I don't want Volk to take that rematch, at least for a year. He's been knocked out twice in his last two fights. He's older. I'd like him to take some time off. I know he's been itching to get back into the ring with Taporia for a rematch. But I mean, if you set up Holloway and Taporia in Spain, I think fans are going to be happy regardless.
yeah, definitely.
All right,
I
let's move
100%
on,
agree.
fellas.
All right, the Battle of China. Zhang Wei Li minus 485 over. Ryan, help me out with this one.
Yan Xiaonan.
Yeah, she's plus 357. This is the women's strawweight title fight. Wei Li has won 3 in a row against Lemos, Esparza, and Joanna after losing her belt to Rose. And then she did lose the rematch to Rose, but now Rose has kind of fallen off. Joanna's coming off back-to-back wins against Andrade and Dern after losing to Marina Rodriguez and Esparza. Zach, where are you going with this one?
Yeah, so both are 34, same reach. Jan is an inch taller. I honestly don't have too much to add to this one, but I will make one point. I do find it crazy how in women's MMA you can go out and get a title shot coming off of just 2 wins. Her last 2 wins have been against Andrade and Mackenzie Dern, and now Jan's getting a title shot, and that's following back-to-back losses. Like I just find that crazy. But I mean, I'll go with Zhang Weili's power, and I'll take her via knockout. But that's about all I have.
Yeah, I'm taking Whaley as well, and I'm also going to take knockout. I just think she has the pedigree already. I think she retains the belt here. This seems like an easy one to keep the streak going.
I'm gonna exactly ride that same train. I think Welly just takes that knockout. I mean, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be domination.
I think, yeah, I agree. Whaley gets this one done by however she wants, however she wants. But going off like what you said, Zach, about like how you get like 2 wins and then fight for a belt. The UFC opened up a PI in China 2 years ago. They're trying to grow the sport abroad in Asia. I mean, this fight was supposed to be a title fight on a fight night card in China. They're going to sell it that way to build that audience and like get Asian fans more involved within the sport. I don't know who was injured. I can't remember off the top of my head, but someone pulled out of that fight. They ended up moving that card, the Chinese card, to the Apex last minute. Didn't do it, but I mean that's why they
That
gave
makes
Yan
sense.
the fight, or yeah, Yan Jianan that
That
fight.
makes a lot of sense. I was wondering about that, but thank you.
Yeah, well, good shit there, Mr. Encyclopedia Ryan. We were at UFC 281 in the Garden, Ryan, when we saw Wei Li beat Esparza. That was fun. At the end of the day, Wei Li's too good. She's better on the feet. She's better on the ground. She has that championship pedigree. It's all she does is fight in championship fights. There's not really much more to say. I think she dominates this fight.
Going back to that, seeing these guys in person, Jan also knocked out Andrade at 288, and we got to see Diego Lopez make his UFC debut on 6 days notice against Mavzar at 288.
Oh, that's right.
We've got personal connections to 2 of these fighters now, so
Wow.
all torn.
Yeah, whenever you go and see someone fight in person, you kind of just root for them a little bit harder.
Gotta love them.
Gotta love it. Including this guy coming up. The main event, light heavyweight title fight. Alex Pereira minus 135 favorite over Jamal Hill at plus 114. Obviously, Alex only has 1 loss in the UFC to Israel Adesanya in the rematch. He won his other 6. At light heavyweight, he has wins over Jan Blachowicz and Yuri to win his belt by knockout. At light heavyweight, Hill last fought 15 months ago to win the light heavyweight belt against Glover before tearing his Achilles, but he has won his last 4. Is the 15-month layoff can be too much to come back against Alex Pereira, Zach?
Yeah, so Hill's coming here at 32 and Pereira's 4 years his elder at 36. Same height, same reach, and both strikers also have that legit one punch knockout power. Hill will be fighting Southpaw, Poetan, Orthodox. What I'm curious about is to see how Jamal Hill looks after rupturing his Achilles just 9 months ago. How the hell was this guy in the octagon, going to be in the octagon? He just ruptured his Achilles 9 months ago. That's such a quick turnaround. It's not like who is he, like Aaron Rodgers? Um, I will say I don't think we've ever seen Hill in legitimate danger on his feet. Like I've never seen him wobbled, which does make me a little bit nervous as a Peloton fan, but I am still going with Pereira via TKO.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Alex by. Ah, I want to say decision, but I just can't see this one going the distance. I feel like somebody's going to get knocked out. So I'll go Alex by knockout as well. I don't think it's going to get, I think it might just end in the first round, honestly. Like, I feel like they're just going to be freaking throwing haymakers. And I think one of them's going to connect early and just put the other one's lights out. But I lean Alex.
I'm gonna be all on that train. I love Alex. I think Poatan goes into this fight. I think he dominates. I think Jamal is a good opponent for Poatan, but I also believe that the Shama has earned his keep in the UFC. I believe that he is the hands of stone, what they say. I really like first round knockout Poatan.
Mm.
I like that too. I think Poetan gets to them within rounds 1 or round 2. Jamal Hill, crazy wicked power, Sweet Dreams Hill puts you to sleep. But the way he does it is he throws those overarching looping shots, leaving his head exposed. And Pereira, the seasoned kickboxer, in that left hook of death. I think he's just gonna come in, clip him on the chin, same way he did Yuri, same way he found it on Adesanya, same way he found it on Strickland. There's just nothing being it. You get hit with that left hand and you die. That's it. And Jamal Hill's head is just so exposed when he throws strikes. I see Alex Pereira getting this one done in rounds 1 or 2.
Alex, if I recall, I mean, not Alex, Ryan, if I recall, you met Jamal Hill, did you not?
I did meet Jamal Hill. Cool dude. I met him at a bar, dapped him up, talked to him for about 20 seconds. He was with his girl, didn't seem to want to be bothered. I hate to say this because I love the sport, but I was probably like one of 3 people that knew who he was in the entire bar. But cool guy.
So
Hands are calloused as fuck. Disgusting.
safe to say you did not smack his girlfriend's butt, huh?
I did not smack Jamal Hill's girlfriend's butt. No, but
You would have died. You would have died. I'm going with Alex. Part of the reason is because I did see him knock out Izzy at UFC 281 in Madison Square Garden. That was absolutely electric, even though I had quite a few dollars on Adesanya that night. I was rooting for Izzy, but God damn it, got to respect a guy when he does that. I just think Alex is a better overall fighter at the end of the day. I just think what he's done at light heavyweight, 2 wins over Jan and Yuri. I put more weight into that than beating a old ass Glover Teixeira. I'm not saying Hill's not a good fighter, but as you mentioned, Zach, 9 months off an Achilles, that's tough. I think Poetan's going to test that early and start kicking that leg, and ultimately that left hook is going to find home, and he's going to put him out.
especially when this one's not going to the ground. I mean, Jamal Hill said it on multiple occasions when the fight went and it got announced. I don't know why these guys who have a pure MMA background, who are competent on the ground, don't shoot as much as they do on Alex Pereira. I mean, he can get back up on the feet, but I don't know why, but everyone just gets this ego thing about them where they just want to stand and bang with Alex Pereira, who's just deadly on the feet. And Jamal Hill, I don't think there's going to be any difference. He's already said it multiple times. He's not going to the ground. We're going to stand and bang. I'm going to put his lights out. And it's just the worst approach to go with a guy as talented as a striker as Alex Pereira. So
Yeah, I do think Hill is coming into this feeling pretty confident in himself, though. Like everything that he's been saying, he's like, I know, like I'm going to beat him. I'm going to knock him out. And I know everyone says that, but you can kind of tell in his voice, like he's really confident. He believes that that belt is rightfully his.
You know what does scare me about this fight though? Like every person I think I've talked to has been Pereira, 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 nonstop, right? Yet the betting line is so damn close. Why?
Yeah.
I don't know. I find that a little bit weird. A little bit weird.
I mean, both those guys
the line
have.
is so weird to me. I mean,
Sponsor.
I was
Go
just
ahead,
gonna
Spence.
say, like, I think the line is so weird. Like also like bringing up the power behind Poatan. I believe like about 2 days ago they like measured his punch index and he broke the record over Nagano.
Yep.
This dude hits like a Mack truck coming at you, and which is crazy to look at. I think that like the line is so close, and it just like what is Vegas thinking right now? That's what I'm at.
I
Yeah,
do
yeah,
think
it's the
some
same
people
way.
are underestimating Hill though in general. It just seems like I don't know. Go on, Ryan.
I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, Hill presents that danger whenever he fights. I mean, he put on a master class against Glover Teixeira. I mean, granted, the guy was 42 when they fought for the belt, but he has that wicked one punch knockout power, and I think that's why the lines are as they are. And obviously, Pereira the more seasoned striker, but like all it takes is one shot, and Jamal Hill has proven that he does have that power to put you away in one. I mean, you saw, I don't the Looney Tune knockout Johnny Walker, the punch like a glancing punch to the temple.
I do find it weird though, like Jamal Hill, if you look through, I mean, he had a knockout with Johnny Walker. Who is he competition wise outside of 42-year-old Glover and Thiago Santos? Like he hasn't fought any top competition where Poatan has. So
It comes back down to what I said before. It's just timing makes everything. He was the only healthy fighter that was able to fight Glover for the belt. I mean, realistically, either Jan or Ankalaev should have had the belt coming in. They fought in December or November. That went to a draw. And I think the UFC just kind of threw them both in there because they didn't know what to do with the light heavyweight division.
Yeah.
John Jones
100%.
was gone.
100%.
It's timing makes everything.
I want to go back on your comment about the Looney Tunes knockout. I think that knockout that Jamal Hill had against Walker was the most insane knockout I've seen in the UFC. I
Oh,
like
yeah.
look at that clip even to this day. Like he got hit and then he just like throws his body up in the air and just goes to the ground. I think that that just shows Jamal's power, but I don't really know, man. I don't know what Johnny Walker had going through his head.
he's a goofy dude,
Nothing,
man. He's a goofy
apparently.
dude.
All right.
Don't take
Well,
that personally, Johnny.
I have an idea, fellas. Why don't we cook up a parlay for the listeners? A little around the felt parlay. What do you guys say? Everyone in?
Absolutely. Everyone pick a leg around the felt parlay. Reagan, you kick us off.
Yeah. I'll start us off. I'll go with I'll go with Jalen Turner. I was hyping him up before, so I'll take his money line. I'm seeing he's minus 250 here. Who wants to go next? Spencer, who do you got?
I'll go ahead and give my leg here. I'm a big believer. I love Yuri in this fight. I believe Yuri gets it done. I'm gonna take his money line.
All right, and I see Yuri is minus 104. What do you got, Zach?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Aljo money line here around minus 170.
Yep. And Ryan, who do you got?
Charles Du Bronx all the way. You give that man plus money, I'm taking it every day.
Ooh,
of the
that's
week.
gonna get our parlay juicy. Plus 190. Damn. All right, Colin, who do you got to finish us off?
I'm going to go with Alex Pereira. Last fight of the night to cap off our parlay. Cash money. What are the odds on that, Reagan?
I'm getting here plus 2,036. So $10 would win you $200 or $203. Whoa. So that's not
math.
bad.
Let's take it to the bank, fellas. Let's take it to the bank.
Take it
Sean,
to the bank.
All right, gentlemen, that wraps up the UFC 300 pod. We're going to be doing a lot more UFC talk in the future. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out.
We're going.
Stop recording, you fucking idiot.